Go for it.
No, go ahead. Read the first couple slides.
Take it away, Baylor.
Hi, guys. Well, my name is Michala Petersen, and I'm a pharmacist from Minden. Karisa and I have been best friends since first grade, and we are really on a mission. We are on a mission to take healthy back, and 75 to 90% of chronic disease in our country is preventable. So that's what we're going to talk to you a little bit about today. These people right here are the reason that I want to get healthy and stay healthy for a long time. I have 4 kiddos, ages 8, 6, 4, and 3. My husband and I live on a ranch in the middle of nowhere, which is blissful. Not as blissful as this office, but close. And so they're really the reason behind this whole movement that we've got going.
Right, so I know most of you in the room. I'm Karisa Halpine, in case you don't know. I'm married to this man right here. And we have Brock, who's 8, Bowden, who's 5.5, and Baylor, who's a little over 4 months. And these are my whys as to why I'm so passionate to inspire healthy living and being on this journey that we're on. So these are some pretty bleak statistics. How many in this room have kids? How many in this room know kids? All right, right? So 1 in 3 are overweight, 1 in 6 have learning disabilities, 1 in 9 have asthma, 1 in 10 have ADHD, 1 in 12 have food allergies, 1 in 20 have seizures, 1 in 54 males have autism, and 1 in 88 have autism. This is the new childhood in America, and it's really, really scary. So that leaves 50% of all kids have chronic illness or are overweight. This slide really tugs at my heart. Michala's oldest is 8, Brock is 8, and it says today by the time the average child in a developed country turns 8, they've had more sugar in their lives than the average person did in their entire lifetime just a century ago. So that's really eye-opening. Have a lot of you guys seen the Rethink Your Drink campaign? What this does, it's a really good visual, and I forgot the ones that we have at home that have the teaspoons of sugar on them, but it depicts how much sugar is in what we consume, and just with drinks, let alone the food that we're intaking as well. Milk, I mean, as you can see there, has just as much sugar as a lot of the soft drinks. I don't know if very many of you guys are familiar with Jamie Oliver, the food enthusiast. He has a really good TED Talk. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. One of the things he does is he's on stage in the TED Talk, and he has a wheelbarrow full of sugar cubes. And what the sugar cubes depict is how much sugar is consumed with a child between the ages of kindergarten and 3rd grade, just in milk. And he throws it all out on the stage. It's really, really eye-opening. So
That's good. And how many of you, I was guilty of this before I know what I know now. I used to think, oh, I'll give the kids a root beer or a Fresca or a Crush or whatever because it doesn't have the caffeine in it, and I knew that caffeine was bad. But if you look at it, Crush has more teaspoons of sugar than a lot of the things up there. And we're going to talk in just a second why sugar is bad for you. So 1 teaspoon of sugar depletes the immune system by 50% for 4 to 6 hours. So it is clear then why our kids get sick after Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. When we sugar them up, they're sleep deprived. If you're like me, you don't want to be that family at Christmas, so we expect them to behave perfectly and probably bribe more things on top of that. And so it is an attack on their immune system. And so now we're going to go into kind of the dieting versus metabolic reprogramming thought. So how many of you have seen, or maybe I was one of these people, that you see them and they're heavy, and then the next time you see them they're thin, and the next time you see them they're heavy again? I'm sure you've all known people like that, if not been one yourself. And so this is a traditional diet, which I think is a dirty word. You can't spell diet without die, right? So what these little polka dots are impurities or toxins, and a scientific word for those are free radicals. And what these free radicals do is they ping pong, they're like pinballs bouncing off of our organs. And free radicals lead to oxidative stress, and oxidative stress leads to inflammation. And inflammation is the root of all disease. So you can have 2 people with the same exact cholesterol, the same blood pressure, you know, markers are all the same as far as blood goes. And the one that has the inflammation is going to be the one that has the catastrophic event, whether it's cancer or heart disease or a stroke or whatever it is. So these impurities are bad and we need to get them out of our system. Well, I'm the perfect example that you can eat the 6-point brownie on Weight Watchers and replace a meal with it and still lose weight because it's calories in versus calories out, right? But what happens is this person loses the fat but does not lose the impurities. And then 6 months later, they've rebounded because our bodies are so miraculous. Our organs produce fat in order to protect from those impurities, you know, causing disease. So this slide down here is where I would say I am now for sure. This person has flooded their bodies with fruits, vegetables, and berries. And those fruits, vegetables, and berries are antioxidants. So they latch on to those toxins and keep them in kind of a holding pattern. And then you drink water and those toxins are flushed out of your system and able to be detoxified by your liver and your kidneys. So this person floods their body with good nutrition, those impurities go away, and then they have that maintenance phase and there's no rebound, which is exactly why 4 kids later, I'm in better shape and leaner than I was when I played college volleyball. Does that make sense? Okay, and that's kind of a confusing slide. I always am questioning if I lost anyone. So oxidative stress, we already talked about, gets down at the cellular level and causes aging. And the only thing that combats those toxins are fruits, vegetables, and berries. So in pharmacy school, I was never taught why. We were taught 1 week of nutrition training, and we took that class with the physicians. Not a single time was it mentioned of the power behind our produce. And so that's really kind of what we're here to shed light on today. So this all, you know, getting healthy can be really daunting, but it's not if you do it one simple change at a time. And so we've got this campaign going. We've had it going for about 1.5 years, and we have a Facebook page, and we have a theme every month. And so this month's theme is trying to stress less. We're telling what we're thankful for. And so you can be out for a run or, you know, whatever it is that you're thankful for, and post a picture on Facebook and inspire others. So the 4 things that we really work on is exercising, because we know how important that is, drinking water, eating whole food, and then sleeping as well.
So what this shows is what is most highly what we intake the most as Americans. And as you guys can see, it's fat and sugar. And you can see the teeny tiny sliver over there that's produce. And really those should be flip-flopped, right? So the choosemyplate.gov, which is something else that most of us are familiar with, they say that we should be filling our plates every meal with half fruits and vegetables. I know I'm guilty as charged. It's impossible to do that, and they don't just mean at lunch and dinner, they mean at breakfast too, and it's nearly impossible. So what this also is showing is servings of fruits and vegetables. We have here the 1 to 3 servings, which is what an average American consumes on a daily basis, if that. And I would have probably fallen in between here and there 2.5 years ago, or over 2 years ago. Here's 5 to 7 servings, and that's what the quote-unquote healthy American consumes on a daily basis. And the serving size, a good reference, is the size of your fist. Okay, 7 to 13 servings is what the USDA recommends that we consume every single day. So just kind of be thinking, you know, how much you guys consume, or, you know, this is just a really great thing to improve on. Over here by Michala is 13 to 18 servings, and that's what an athlete should be consuming every day. So it's crazy. We're going to kind of veer off a little bit, going from fruits and vegetables to other high protein foods that can benefit our bodies. We live in a beef state, and I'm a meat eater. I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian, I love meat. But other really good sources are chia seeds, barley grass, almonds, avocado, figs and kale, goji berries, spirulina, which you find in the blue-green algae of Hawaii, Brazil nuts, quinoa, sprouts, and those are just to name a few. So this slide here, you guys, we live in a really fast-paced, fast food society. And, you know, I'm guilty, you know, knowing what I know now is a whole different story than what I knew 2 years ago. And so I'm really grateful. But, you know, this over here can look daunting. And what can we do to, you know, not just be more healthy, have a well-balanced diet, incorporating more fruits and vegetables, you know, different things that we've done. One thing in particular, I don't know if many of you have heard of the 10-day shred that we've been doing and promoting. And what that does is it's 10 days and it helps shed the toxins, it helps shed bad habits. It helps shed, you know, with the results of that, there's weight in inches. You feel great. Our results have been amazing. And just doing something, one simple change at a time, you know, like Michala said, it can be very daunting. So just doing little things here and there can make a big difference.
Yeah, and at the end of 6 months, doing one change a month, you change 6 things, which changes your composition. So
Right.
How many of you have heard of Dr. Sears? Do you know who he is? He's one of the best known pediatricians in the nation. He's written over 40 books. And his current book is called NDD, Nutritional Deficit Disorder. And he claims that our nation doesn't have a Ritalin deficiency or a Prozac deficiency or a Zocor deficiency. Our nation has a whole food deficiency. And if you think about it, it really does make sense. You know, as a pharmacist, I used to think that being in the pharmacy was my passion. Now I'm only there every other Saturday. And, you know, educating people and empowering people like this is way more fun to me to be on the prevention side of it. But if you think of your body like a car, when the oil light comes on, you can do one of 2 things. You can find and fix the problem, or you can unplug the light. And a lot of times we're unplugging lights. And so this person right here doesn't know any better, bless their heart. I'm sorry, the slide is crooked. I'll change that later. But so one of the things that Dr. Sears talks about is the foolish 5. And if you clean up these 5 things from your diet, you're eating 90% clean or 90% whole food. So the first one is trans fat. And that's, how many of you have eaten at a fast food place and just felt disgusting for a couple hours? That's that trans fat. It creates brain fog. Your system does not know what to do with it, so your arteries and everything constrict as a protection mechanism. The second is MSG, which is present in a lot of things. That's why we're addicted to food, the main reason. The third is beautiful little colors on a shelf that look so innocent, and they're food coloring. And what it does in your system is it's a neurotoxin. So your brain, it degrades the nerves that fire, the nerve insulation that allows your brain to fire and creates foggy thinking, especially in kids because their brains are 60% fat. And so that stuff goes right to their head. And you may even know kids that they eat something that's high and die and they're like bouncing off the walls. My kids are really sensitive now that we don't have that. The fourth is hydrogenated oil. And so that's also in a lot of the fast food that also creates brain fog. And then the fifth is aspartame. And this is a tricky one and probably the most dangerous because it's in anything low calorie, 0 calorie diet, everything. And I am the daughter of a mortician and I know that pickling anything that has a heartbeat isn't good. And that's exactly what aspartame does. It degrades to formaldehyde in your system. So it's really scary. If you want to know more about it, ask us because we're armed with knowledge as far as that goes. So this is more reason to eat fruit. Cherries help calm the nervous system. Watermelon does like 12 different things, but it controls your heart rate among other things. It regulates your metabolism as well. Strawberries can fight against cancer and aging. Pineapple fights against arthritis. It also has 500 times the enzyme that controls cough and inflammation. And so it works great if you eat fresh pineapple and have a cough. Grapes and anything blue, red, you know, those deep colors help your blood vessels and help protect against different, you know, coronary artery disease and stuff like that. Blueberries protect your heart. Oranges maintain great skin and vision. So those are just a few reasons. So prevention is a lot easier than a cure, and we hope you get that after today.
So we've mentioned the one simple change, and one simple change that I know I've strived to get better on is drinking more water. That some of the benefits of water and staying hydrated is fluid balance, fatigue buster. I know some of the days that I feel the most tired are the days that I haven't had very much water in my system. It normalizes your blood. Calorie control, oftentimes our brain is tricked. We think we're hungry. And if we would just kind of stop and slow down and consume 8 or 10 ounces of water, you know, you're surprised at how much that can curb your appetite. Boost your brain, muscle fuel, clearer skin, productivity boost, and then the toxic remover is going to lead us into the next slide. So as Michala touched on, the free radicals that are ping-ponging around in our bodies turn to oxidative stress. That oxidative stress turns into inflammation. And by drinking a lot of water with intaking more fruits and vegetables, it can clean our systems out, detoxify them, and it minimizes or it decreases inflammation. Some of the things that inflammation can trigger is obesity, diabetes, gingivitis, cardiovascular disease, eye disorders, joint pain, colon, breast cancer, metabolic syndrome, infection in our bodies, injuries. It can cause joint achiness, Alzheimer's, asthma, allergies, and the list goes on with autoimmunes.
So we talked about one simple change, and really we would be totally doing you a disservice if we didn't tell you what one simple change, a catalyst that we chose that really propelled our health into a different direction. And so we're going to just talk a little bit about that right now. How many of you like to garden? You do. Okay, so I love to garden as well. I would plant a huge garden every year. My husband would till up an old cattle pen, and so stuff would grow like crazy in that rich soil, of course. But we also have 4.5-foot bull snakes. And so I would see a bull snake, and that is the last time I would go in the garden. So I was complaining to my uncle about needing to weed the garden, but I'd see a snake, and then I wouldn't go in there again. And he said, well, you just need a tower garden. And so I asked a bunch of questions, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, a good pharmacist friend of mine posted a picture of hers on Facebook. And so I contacted her right away and said, I need one of these things. And she said, have you ever heard of Juice Plus? And I said, nope, we're healthy. I'm never going to juice. That's messy and inconvenient, and it takes a lot of time. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to drink shakes. So go ahead and tell me about it, but I'm not going to nab onto any of that. And so she told me that Juice Plus is just 30 fruits and vegetables in a capsule or a soft chew. And right away I went, that's interesting. And so what she said is that the Juice Plus company is a bridge, like a bridge to the gaps in our lives. So the Juice Plus bridges the gap between what we should eat, which is 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and what we do eat. The complete bridges the gap between how many meals we're supposed to eat a day, which is 6. The average American eats 2 meals a day. And so that bridges that gap. And then, of course, the Tower Garden bridges a gap between the quality of our produce now versus what it was, a long time ago. Our produce is so lacking nutrition because the produce grabs onto the most nutrition in the last 3 to 5 days of ripening. And that isn't feasible in Nebraska in the winter for sure, because our produce is picked 1,000 miles away way before it's ripened, trucked to us, sprayed with a chemical to make it look ripe. And I'm sure this summer everyone has cut into a strawberry that's bright white, very little nutrition content. So instantly it made sense to me, and I said, okay, I want my whole family on it. How much does it cost to be a rep? We're a big family. And she said $50 a year, no minimums, no quotas, no inventories. And I went, okay, well, sign me up for that, but I'm not one of those salespeople, and I will never share it with anyone. And then we had results, and I realized that I am actually being selfish. I took an oath to do no harm, and by not telling you about this, I am doing harm. So I had more energy. My husband was in a horrible cannon accident 3 years ago and was not having the pain and inflammation that he had in his leg. Our 2-year-old that gagged at anything green was asking for salads within 2 weeks and eating seconds. So you can't fake a 2-year-old, right? Our 8-month-old needed tubes in her ears, and I am so happy to say she never had tubes. And as a family of 6, we've not had a single sick visit in 2 years. So at that point, our 4-year-old also struggled with focus, and within 4 or 5 weeks was crawling up on our laps for the first time and sitting through books at a time, where it might have been a few pages before. And so at that point, I needed to look into the research. And so I was absolutely blown away by the research, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But all of these things, my kids were never getting on a daily basis. I mean, acerola cherries, kale, bilberry, blueberry, elderberry, they were not eating those on a regular basis. And I know that it's the spectrum that prevents disease. So at that point, I contacted a mom of a kiddo with cancer after reading The Birth of Juice Plus, which the creator's dad was given 3 weeks to live, was dying of cancer, and ended up living for 15 years just with this powdered produce. And I messaged her, and she said, how long have you known about that, and why didn't you tell me sooner? And that's really when everything shifted for me. And now, I was just telling Karisa, I'm at home with the kids, obviously, except every other Saturday, and it's just been the biggest blessing to be able to educate and empower people. So that's why we're here today. So another thing that we love to do is to give back. And the Tower Garden really has you know, our mission is inspiring healthy living around the world, and we also inspire healthy giving along the way. And so we do a tower tour at the nursing home, and so we drop a tower garden off, and for 6 weeks, once a week, we go in and do a 20-minute talk. We plant seeds with them, we harvest them. And I'm also on call for the pharmacy, and there's nothing more rewarding than to drive up doing a page late at night and the residents are gathered around the tower garden reading a story or whatever they're doing. So the bottom says, why try and explain miracles to your kids when you can have them plant a garden? And I know that growing your own food is like printing your own money. We talked about the produce in the nation, and California grows 90% of our green leafy vegetables. And I don't know if you know that or not, but they have been in the worst drought, the second worst drought in history. So produce is going to continue to go up, especially good produce.
All right, these are my little turkeys. They love the tower garden, you guys. Stephen Ritz, who transformed the South Bronx with the tower gardens and, you know, growing produce and having these little kids get involved and giving back to their community. He says that if you teach a kid about nature, you teach them to nurture. And that is so true. They have so much fun planting these little seeds and watching them sprout and transplanting them in the pods and, you know, just being, I don't know, they love it in every aspect. And plus, you know, they're really low key. Stan knows I can kill a cactus. So these are perfect for people that do not have a green thumb. So we love ours. So when Michala, she called me up a little over 2 years ago, and, you know, she said, you know, Chris, I've come across something. I don't know if it'll help, but to me, it's worth a try. She knew my circumstances. I was a single mom. I was in a more fragile spot in my life. And she also knew my boys were sick all the time. Doctor's office minimum every other month. And we know the vicious cycle. When kiddos miss school and are sick, parents miss work, you know, you're flooding your bodies with antibiotics and seeing the doctor. So I thought, you never know unless you try. I thought it was too good to be true, 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries in this teeny tiny capsule, but I trusted Michala. She's, you know, a credible pharmacist, you know, and I thought, okay, so it's worth, you know, let's get going. However, I didn't want to share it with the soul, and that sounds selfish. I wanted nothing to do with that part of it. But as 2 weeks rolled around, I was feeling more energy. And the cool thing about whole food, you guys, and this is what I love, is our bodies know exactly what to do with whole food. It's going to be used in our bodies where it's needed the most. And for me, I experienced more energy, and I needed all I could get as a fitness instructor and a single mom at the time. And, you know, my boys 3 and 4 months weren't getting sick like they were. So I thought, okay, there's got to be something to this, right? So fast forward, I meet Stan, we get married in December. Of course, he's doing Juice Plus and feels amazing. Cholesterol and blood pressure, high numbers for 20 years and are within normal reads, so that's awesome. And allergy and asthmatic symptoms, and ran up his first half marathon last summer and did great and feels really good. So it's just really good peace of mind at the end of the day that we have this foundational nutrition. And as far as my athletic performance, I'm an avid runner. And by, you know, at the time I was running half marathons, and without increasing my training, I thought, okay, I've got to be satisfied with an 8:30-minute mile. And so by incorporating the macronutrition of the complete protein and the micronutrition of the Juice Plus, I was able to shave a minute off my mile split. So to run a half marathon in a 7:30-minute mile versus an 8:30-minute mile, which is just fun. And really, Michala's going to touch on, but this is where the research behind Juice Plus speaks volumes. So to touch a little bit more on the complete, the way, you know, being in the fitness industry, all I ever knew was whey protein, vitamins, and supplements. That's all I've known, and there's a lot of it out there. Whole food made sense. And whey protein versus the Juice Plus Complete, as you guys can see here, the whey is hard to digest, as kind of where we were talking about, you know, whole food, our bodies know exactly what to do with, and that's what this is. So it knows exactly what to do with it. It causes bloating. The whey causes bloating. This is easy to digest. This provides more alkalinity into our body versus whey being more acidic. And we know lots of things can thrive in an acidic environment. It promotes inflammation, and this has, one of the ingredients in it is yucca, which is a root plant, and it helps decrease inflammation. So that's awesome to know. The whey contains allergies. Ours is gluten-free, low glycemic, you know, no preservatives, non-GMO, the list goes on. But just really realizing that food really is fuel, you know, and it can take us a lot of places and make us feel really, really good.
So, I'll move this here so you can see, sorry. So as a pharmacist and as a fitness instructor, I'm speaking for you, but I really feel like we have been approached by almost everything on the market. And so my 3 questions were always, is it safe in pregnancy? Is it safe in cancer patients? And would you feed it to your kids? And I almost like giggled inside when somebody was asking me about one of these products, because I knew they would not be able to answer yes to all 3 of those things. And when I found out that Juice Plus is studied in cancer patients at MD Anderson, one of the leading cancer institutes in our nation, we have a pregnancy study, and our children's health study is over 1 million kids strong. And Chris is going to talk about that in a minute. But these are the other things that really stood out to us. Number 1 is the longevity. This has been around for 23 years. The second thing is the quality. It's tested 6 times from farm to capsule, and never in 23 years has there been a recall or a lawsuit, which is incredible. I mean, if you think about it, how many times even a year is spinach recalled because of an E. coli issue or, you know, something like that? So that's incredible. We also have NSF certification to stand on. And that means 3 things. That means, first of all, there's nothing on the label that isn't in the capsule. There's also nothing that's in the capsule that's not on the label. So there's no impurities or heavy metals or anything like that. And third and most important is that it does no harm. So that NSF certification really gives us ground to stand on. That's why 3 different Olympic teams use Juice Plus as their sole supplement to bridge the gap. Also, collegiate athletes, Olympic athletes, you know, people like that are able to take Juice Plus without any worry that on a urine test, nothing is going to show up. We are simple. We only have 4 products. You're never going to see a catalog from us. We have a nutrition label, not a supplement label. And that is so important. There's a thing now called supplement-induced syndrome. And soldiers overseas, I talked to a nurse the other day that's stationed over in Germany, and daily people are admitted, these soldiers are admitted to the emergency department. And when at the end of the day, you know, heart attack, stroke, liver failure, kidney failure, all these different things. And at the end of the day, they run all the blood tests, and the only thing that it can be traced back to is the supplements that they're taking. So especially with our youth, you know, using energy drinks and stuff like that more rampant, that's really important. Number 4 is authenticity. The research stands alone, and you know, you see all those research institutes there. They aren't going to put their name on just anything, you know, and they aren't going to risk their name for faulty research. So, and the 5th and my favorite is the community. We really are one team, one mission, and we're just out to inspire health. And so, a little touch on the body of research. In order to get a drug approved to the market, how many studies do you think it has to have on the specific population? So if it's a blood pressure medication, how many studies need to be done on that population in order to get a drug approved? Do you have any idea? 2. How scary is that? And it only has to be 65% effective. So that to me is scary. And the fact that fruits and vegetables have 36 published clinical studies, I mean, the intellectual part of me is really glad that we have the research, but like the heart in me is like, well, God knew what he was doing when he put fruits and vegetables in the Garden of Eden. Why do we need research on it? But I'm glad we have it. So this is just a little bit about the research finding. We all know that the mouth is the gateway to the whole system, and an unhealthy mouth usually means unhealthiness everywhere else. So we've got a new wisdom tooth study that was just published that showed that the Juice Plus population not only had less pain, but they recovered quicker than the placebo group. We've got 4 cardiovascular studies. We've got 4 immune system studies, and I just want to spend a little bit on this because, you know, 20 years ago, a lot of you are probably younger than me, but I remember a time when there were a handful of autoimmune disorders. Cancer was rare, asthma, diabetes, you know, maybe some of the gut stuff, but now there's 170 different autoimmune conditions. And so the underlying cause is the same. I was an ulcerative colitis sufferer, Stan had asthma, you know, but the underlying condition is the same. And our T cells and our B cells are the controllers of our immune system, and the T cells are the sergeants and the B cells are the soldiers. So in a balanced immune system, the sergeants tell the soldiers what to do and they obey. But in an unbalanced immune system, the soldiers overtake the sergeants. And so our bodies are like a kindergarten classroom with no teachers. And so at just 80 days on Juice Plus, the T cells raise exponentially, and the proteins that make those also do, which means that anytime you have more sergeants, you're naturally going to have a better balanced immune system. And then the other cool thing about that study is we have natural killer cells that roam around our system and munch disease. They're like Pac-Man of our immune system. And so those also increase at just 80 days. So you can see how that helps prevent against cancer. We have several DNA studies, which is important for childbearing women because that's what we pass on to our kids. Look at this oxidative stress list. I mean, that we talked about that being the root of the disease, and all of that research is right there. We have a skin study that showed that blood flow increases by 39% to the skin, which is incredible. That's microvascular. And you think of other microvascular complications if we just take a ride with me for a minute. So microvascular, anything diabetic related, that is a microvascular complication. So eye health, erectile dysfunction, nerve functioning, ulcers that don't heal. All of those things are microvascular. So anytime you increase blood flow by 39%, you're not going to have an unhealthier person, right? And then we have a systemic inflammation, several of those studies as well. So can anyone guess, for a little prize, how old this unhappy meal is? Anyone want to guess? It is 16 years old. I mean, other than the crusty bun, it looks like you could eat it, right? So one thing that I love about Juice Plus and the research is the majority of our research, people have come to us to ask us to do this study. And this one, a group of physicians approached Juice Plus and said, we know the majority of heart attacks happen after a high-fat meal. Will you study it? So Juice Plus brought a group of 200 people into the lab. We partnered with Maryland, who's an awesome cardiovascular institute in our nation. And they had 200 people come in and get their blood pressure tested, fed them a high-fat meal from McDonald's, and had their blood pressure tested again. And the vasoconstriction that was found was 50% that lasted 4 to 6 hours. So it was twice as hard for their hearts to pump that fatty blood through. And we talked about trans fats and hydrogenated oils. And both of those man-made substances make your vessels go, whoa, what the heck is happening? And so they constrict in order to protect themselves. So they sent the 3 different groups home for 28 days, a placebo group, an orchard and garden group, and an orchard, garden, and vineyard group, and brought them back, did the same thing, blood pressure, high-fat meal, blood pressure. The placebo group was the same. The orchard and garden group had a 62% reduction in that vasoconstriction. So it was 62% easier for their hearts to pump that blood through, but the orchard, garden, and vineyard group had less than 2% vasoconstriction, which is so impressive, not only for me as a family who has stroke in our family history, but also as a mom. How many times do we run our kids through runs and then drop them off at the soccer field because we're in a hurry knowing that it's 50% harder for their hearts to pump that blood through. So that's one of my favorites. This is the second favorite.
This really tugs at my heart, you guys. The Children's Health Study is 1 million kids strong with the company. And what they do, what Juice Plus does, is when a child is sponsored by an adult between the ages of 4 and 18 and full-time college age, they're able to eat for free with that adult. So a few things, and my kiddos are still picky eaters. I'm not saying that they eat the rainbow every single day like they should, but thank goodness for this. But some of the things we have seen, just like the statistics show, 56% are taking fewer over-the-counter and prescription medications. 60% are missing fewer days of school. 61% are eating more fruits and vegetables. It's really cool how it transforms their taste buds. So they crave more of the good and less of the bad. 71% are drinking more water. 71% are consuming less fast food and soft drinks. 89% are more aware of their health, which is just fun in general. And 96% are reaping a positive benefit of some kind. This study I really like as well, being in the fitness industry. It's a 28-week study that they did, and it was done on a group of Cobra soldiers, which are the equivalent to the Navy SEALs. So it was a very stringent study, and all control, everything was controlled. So all the soldiers ate the same thing at the same time, slept in the same place for the same amount of hours, did the same workouts. And the Juice Plus group, what the results showed is that the Juice Plus group had more longer sustaining, they could work out harder, more intense, and their recovery was a lot quicker and a lot better as opposed to the placebo group. So a few things, not that we haven't given you guys enough information to to digest, and it's been a lot, we understand. But a few things just to end this with and to ponder on are, I can't remember yet. Both of these women are 74 years old. So basically it's our choice as to how we want to handle our health. This one really gets me too, you guys. Exercise is so important, as we all know. But, you know, like I said, being a fitness instructor, it really got me in the gym because so many people work so hard, but it really matters what you put on the end of your fork to see the results that you want to see, and to really, you know, just be as healthy as you can, just one simple change at a time, and just realize that food really is fuel.
You are what you eat, so don't be fast, cheap, easy, or fake. That kind of gets you. It all comes back to what you eat, what you drink, and what you think.
So if you give this to your plants, why do we give this to our kiddos, right? And the greatest wealth is health. I mean, any one of us can have as much money in the world, but if we don't have our health, how are we going to be able to enjoy the wealth that we have, right?
So this is the beginning of anything you want. And the bottom line of this whole talk is that we are absolutely wellness warriors on a mission. We are raging against the norm. 600,000 people die every year in the United States of cancer. 750,000 die every year of heart disease. We are raging against the norm that 1 in 3 of our children are going to get diabetes, that 1 in 2 of us are going to get cancer, that if we keep going at the rate we're going, by the year 2032, 1 in 2 children and 80% of our boys will have autism. That is not okay. You know, can you imagine the economic impact and the emotional impact that is going to have? So it all starts with a choice to change. Clearly, our healthcare system is not working. The United States spends the most dollars of any country in the world on healthcare, yet we're the sickest population. And so if anything we said today convicts you, we will be so happy to partner with you and take Healthy back, because it is just, it's amazing, and the choice is ours to make. So thank you.
You guys have any questions?